today. Thank you for being with us for our second theatre chat of the season. And I'm just going to share a little bit about who we have with us today. I'm Lily Wolfe. I'm the New Works Associate here at Chautauqua Theatre Company. We're joined today by Jade King-Carroll, our producing artistic director. She was in tech last week and couldn't be with us, as I said, but so glad you can be here this week. And then we have our team for The Bone Wars. We have playwright Sarah Saltwick and director Liz Fisher, and I'll tell you more about them. I'm so excited that we're here today to talk about new programming, and so extra excited that Jade can be joining us. And I'd actually love to start with that before we dive into the artists joining us today. Let's talk about what you're doing here and this really thrilling new program that's happening at CTC this year. Jade, can you tell us a little bit about our very first New Play Lab and how it is that we've come to have playwriting fellows for the very first time here at CTC?
Yeah, I'm so excited about this new programming, and that we were able to expand our fellowships, especially at a time of kind of contraction in a lot of ways. So that's thrilling. 2 years ago, we partnered with the Drama League, which is a preeminent directing institution and resource for directors in America. So they were able to come in with us on this new program, both resources as far as helping us read scripts and also helping us pay for the programming. So this year we have 2 directing fellows and 2 playwriting fellows, and they applied together as a team with a play. We had hundreds of plays. I mean, the Drama League was so impressed by how many people applied. I read dozens upon dozens of scripts in completion, and even more than that, just like the first 10 pages. We went through a couple of rounds of interviews. We flew directors in, Drama League pays for that, into New York to do practicums and to watch them direct. And now we're here, the playwriting fellows are here for 5 weeks, the Drama League directing fellows are here for 9 weeks, and we're opening our new space with these incredible new plays. There's 2 of them, and they're designed by our design fellows, and they're acted by our acting conservatory. And we brought in an amazing director who directed Bichette Chung's All Little Boxes last year. She's also the artistic director of Ping Fang. She's also a Drama League alum, so she's mentoring the program, and you can come see the fruits of all of the next generation of theater artists' labor this weekend, and then in 2 weeks there'll be the next one, and then they have some time to go back and massage, make adjustments in between most of the readings, but also in between the presentations, and they'll come back and wrap on August 1st. So.
Yeah, it's an amazing shape. We're so excited to welcome you all into that process. It's been a very busy week at the theatre company. We had our first new play workshop, Ahoy Hoy by Jenny Stafford. Thank you so much today for being here to see that. And then this amazing team has been in tech this week. As soon as we wrap this chat, we are throwing them on a golf cart and taking them right back to the theatre so that they can recommence that process. Best for Babies and its last week in the rehearsal room before they move into the Bratton Theatre and start their tech. So it's all happening. I want to now introduce this amazing team. I'm so excited to have these 2 women here. I've known them both for, I think, at least 15 years. And when I was a baby deciding to forge my career in this field, both these women were here in my community, so it's really exciting. They both joined us from Austin, Texas, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. Let me start with Sarah Saltwick, who was our playwright. She's a graduate of the Michener Center for Writers at the University of Texas at Austin, and was a Jerome Fellow at the Playwright Center in Minneapolis. Her plays have been produced nationally and to critical acclaim. Recent productions include Rabbits and Mother Tree at the Vortex in Austin, The Pleasure Trials at Amphibian Stage in Fort Worth, Texas, Moxie Theater in San Diego, California, and Drama Shop in Erie, Pennsylvania. She's also written Egress. That was co-written with Melissa Crespo and produced by Amphibian Stage, Salt Lake Acting Company, Theater Works in Hartford, Connecticut, and Cleveland Playhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. Other of her plays include A Perfect Robot, Tender, Rough, Rough, Tender, which is one of my favorite play titles of all time, an adaptation of The Scarlet Letter, and The Girl Who Became Legend, which is a new feminist folktale for young people. She's also a co-director of Holden and Arts Associates, a theatrical booking agency, and she shares her home with her husband, musician and visual artist Toto Miranda, and their daughter Beatrix, and their cat Lulu, so cat person can ask about the cat later. Liz Fisher, our director, future now directing fellow, is an interdisciplinary theater maker. She works across new play development and reimaginings of classic texts. Her directing credits include the Kennedy Center, Fusebox Festival, Pittsburgh Public Theater, The Tank in New York City, Palm Beach Drama Works, National Black Theater, ZAC Theater, Opera San Antonio, National Women's Theater Festival, the Classic Theater of San Antonio, and virtually every theater in Austin, Texas. University programs including UT Austin, St. Edward's University, James Madison University, Mary Baldwin, and Southwestern University. Her directing was recognized with the Princess Grace Award in Theater, the SDC National Directing Award at the Kennedy Center, and fellowship at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center. No big deal. Liz is an associate professor of theater arts at the University of the Incarnate Word in San Antonio, Texas, and received her MFA from Texas State University. Thank you both so much for being with us today. So Sarah and Liz, I'd love to start with a joint question if I could. Can you tell us the story of your creative collaboration? And as Jade shared, you applied to this process together with Sarah's play. How did you get to know each other professionally and get to know each other's work?
Well, so Sarah and I first met about 17 years ago when I was actually an actor for her in one of her plays. And that was kind of where we fell in love. From that moment, she and I would go on and work on a couple of plays with me as a performer and her as playwright. And then, because I spent the first decade of my career as an actor, and then as I started doing more directing work, because we already had such a great working relationship, and I loved the kind of plays that Sarah wrote, it became very natural, I think, to then start the conversation as a director of like, hey, we work well together in a room. We know that how to talk to each other. So it gave us a place to start conversations about plays. So Sarah and I most recently worked on another play together that we developed over 3 years. It was a commission that Sarah got from the Kennedy Center. We walked through multiple workshop productions of that, surviving a pandemic, all the way through to full production. And then we turned to each other and said, well, what's next?
Yep. Yeah, Liz and I are definitely close friends and great collaborators. Liz is an amazing leader in the room. She's a brilliant artist, and I think she really inspires people to do their best work. And so she's always going to be at the top of the list of somebody I want to work with, and especially for a process like this, which is focused, fast, going in deep quickly. It was just a real blessing to have somebody who I already trusted, already admired, at my side on the process.
Your play, The Bone Wars, is about two American paleontologists. What got you interested in dinosaurs, paleontology, history? What was the seed for this play?
Yeah, so I don't usually know exactly when I get the idea for a play, but for this one, there was a really specific moment of when my daughter was younger, so she's 7.5 now. When she was about 4, she really got into dinosaurs in just a big way. And I think there's another play in me, perhaps, about like kids and dinosaurs. I think there's something about collecting the knowledge and thinking about death and how long the earth has existed, like really big existential questions. And then there's just a litany of really hard to pronounce names. And I really struggled. And she just, every night at bedtime, she would just be like, no, like Archaeopteryx, Mama. And I was just, what's it good? And I would just like pause and look at the names. And so in this giant encyclopedia we had gotten from the library, and we had so long that we had to buy it from them because we had damaged it in our ownership of it, but they gave us a good deal. There was just this little footnote about ever drink or Coke on the Elasmosaurus, and it was something about him being this American paleontologist in the Gilded Age and a member of the Bone Wars. And there was something about that phrase, the Bone Wars, where I was like, what is that? And then I was reading on it on Wikipedia, and I was just like, this is nuts. This is a crazy story. These two men pushing each other forward and also destroying each other. What an interesting time in history. And there was something about this competition and the way I think about competition in my own life and relationship with ambition and my work. I just kept thinking about it and reading more, and I was like, somebody's gotta write a play about it. Somebody's gotta write a play about it. This would be such an interesting play. I just feel like there's all these scenes, and he finds the Allosaurus, but he puts it together wrong, and how do you put together something nobody has ever seen before? And my husband was really like, yeah, maybe you could write that play, you are a playwright. And I was like, no, I don't think so. There's so much science and so much history, no. And then I would just keep getting books about dinosaurs and read them myself. And my daughter was like, I want to read the books about dinosaurs. And so an opportunity came up with the theater in Austin, and I sort of sent them an outline and a few ideas, and I was sort of like, I haven't written this play, but I don't know. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, okay. And so then I wrote the play for very quickly, and then have been digging more into it of what is the story, how is it being told. There's a contemporary frame that works in relationship to the historic. So it really has been an unearthing of the story and with a contemporary perspective.
Jade, you described a little bit the shape of the process as a whole. Liz, can you drill down into that a little bit more and talk about how you've been navigating that shape, what it looks like for the Bone Wars specifically for your process, and then just your approach to navigating the time here.
Absolutely. So before we got here, Sarah, she's already mentioned, sort of wrote this, the first draft of the play very, very quickly. And part of how we started working on it was there was a meeting before, there were a lot of notes. Sarah transformed the draft. And we sent a completed draft to Drama League, which was part of the application. And once we found out we're going to Chautauqua, we spent a month doing readings at our houses with actors and making changes, because we wanted to show up with a draft of the script that we felt pretty good about, because we didn't know what was going to happen. So we showed up with that draft on day 1, and by day 2 we changed the draft. Because of course that's what you're supposed to do, right? In a process like this, anytime you are lucky enough as an artist to get a chance to develop a new play, you're thinking about with the sort of constraints of what you've got, what are the big questions that you're walking in and trying to answer. And Sarah, in this play and in a lot of her plays, writes these unbelievably sort of theatrical, imaginative, playful stories that want to be stood up. So the first week for us has been trying to stage and block the entire thing very, very quickly, so that way we can learn, quite literally, how the play moves in the space, because they're jumping time and location, and boxes are transforming into rocks and dinosaur bones. And we knew that this was part of the physical storytelling that Sarah's literally written into stage directions, but we didn't know how the text would start to match with that movement. So this week, before we got into tech, was really starting to understand how movement and story and body inside the space collide to make dinosaurs real. And as we got to the end of the week, with new pages coming in every single day, going back, restaging things, the design fellows have been helping us quite literally build out the world. So we had costumes suddenly arrive, which helped us really understand our historical characters in a way that we couldn't before. When people are walking around wearing jeans, it doesn't quite feel like two paleontologists from the Gilded Age. But all of a sudden, they have a chance to wear those historical clothes, and their body language starts changing. They can see and start to feel different than the contemporary frame. So it's been a slow process of excavation, shall we say? Of excavating what we think it is. And I think it is a bit of a joke, but also a very apt metaphor, right? We talked a lot about in the room of what it's like to actually go excavating for dinosaur bones, and when you first start, you see what it is, right? The little like head of a femur. But it could be a skull. It could be something else entirely. And I think that the real gift of these last 2 weeks has been being able to sort of brush away, get rid of the stuff that isn't working, remove the rock that isn't the skeleton that we're trying to unearth, to find what it really is and wants to be.
Jade, can you share a little bit about why it's important to you that we at CTC are supporting work at this particular stage of development with a process like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can come at it from any angle. I think it's important. I think we're growing on our mission of education. I think we're setting up peer groups. One of the things that Drama League and I thought was important for the industry, and I think for CTC, is to really embrace and support the relationship between the playwright and the director as a relationship, not just as a project. So to give them space, even though it's not the world premiere production, it's a workshop production. We've done MPWs here for 20 years. This is our 21st year, which I think is a really good year to expand what our MPWs are. So when Viv and Ethan started, it was you read the play the first day, you stage it the second day, you have it designed the third, and you put it up in front of an audience the fourth. We have taken that model, and we've stretched it out over 2 weeks. It's still the design fellows designing, it's still conservatory acting, but now we have the directing fellows, which 2 years ago I started the one-acts, late night one-acts, and they sold out. We added another night last year, they sold out. I said, oh, there's something to this. People really like seeing the young directors work. Let's expand that and marry it with what we've always done with new play workshops and just give it a stronger foundation, a little bit more leeway, a little bit more support. So they've got some budgets. They've got 2 weeks instead of 1 week. They have full days of tech instead of 3 hours of tech, which is what we had, for all the little boxes, maybe 4 hours for all the little boxes last year. So it's really expanding on what we've always done, and foundationally growing and supporting the next generation of brilliant artists, which CTC is always interested in. And I'm hoping making marriages that'll last them into their career. And we've got people for CTC. We've also got I've got people from Pittsburgh. My friend runs this theater there, and she's all excited to come see it because Pittsburgh loves dinosaurs. So part of it is also getting the plays out into the world. These are rock stars in Texas. And when Gabriel, who's the artistic director of Drama League, and I sat down, was like, the only reason that the world doesn't know about Liz Fisher is because she's in Texas. Let's let the world know about these artists. So I think CTC is also excited, and that's part of August 1st, and inviting industry people in, and really letting them see the work of our brilliant young artists, actors, designers, playwrights, directors. We're supporting all of it.
And Liz, you're also a professor. I'm so curious if for either of you, working alongside the design fellows and the acting conservatory in the context of their training that they're doing here this summer, does that change your approach at all? How has that process been?
I'll start with this one. I mean, the education as a mission for Chautauqua is something I've known about Chautauqua for many, many years, and it's one of the things that I've always loved about this place, because to me, even in professional environments, I think art and education, you can't separate them. Everybody's learning. I learn every time I walk into a rehearsal room because nothing is static. So I think for me, I thought that because this entire 2 week it's an experiment in process. The people in the room help us define what that process is. So we're having the conversations and that extra time to live and discover what the play is when it comes to elements of design, when it comes to element of text. For me, I've been treating them the same way that I treat my undergrad students or professionals, because nobody in the room is an expert. Sarah's not an expert in the play. I'm not an expert in the play. We are all learning together. So I think having language that already exists from an institutional perspective of honoring and recognizing that this is a place of active learning is everything, because then it takes the pressure off of me to have to show up every time and be like, I know exactly what I want. I don't know. I'm learning what the play is. We moved the climax of the play 15 pages yesterday and discovered, oh, when we do that, it's right, but now we need to go back and fix some of these moments. And on paper, it seemed to work fine, but then when we stood it up in the room and saw what happened with the actors and the design, we realized we need to spend a little more time here and work on that. So I think really, like, instead of sort of assuming that one person holds all the answers by naming it as an educational space, we all get to learn together.
Sarah, I'm curious what you hope audiences will take away from seeing the Bone Wars this weekend, and what you are hoping to take away as its writer.
I hope audiences really enjoy it. I mean, I think intellectual pleasure is a great goal for a play, and emotional satisfaction. So I hope some of the questions that are set up at the end, the journey we go on as an audience, feels surprising and nuanced and rich. I hope there, and that it feeds audiences' curiosity. And that, there might be an interesting conversation about competition and ambition later that night, the next day, but some wheels turning around that. So those are the sort of themes that I hope hit people's heart, mind, soul, guts, all that stuff. For me, the joy of seeing it come together has really been about it living in space, living those sort of 3 dimensions. So the visual, the auditory, the sort of sensorial of seeing folks move in space. We're in a thrust, which is a really exciting, sort of unpredictable stage. So, people come from different angles, there's different ways of playing those diagonals. The relationships, now that they're embodied, I'm hoping they feel a little like dangerous and exciting. And if they don't, then I've got some more work to do to sort of set up some different moments. So I'm definitely going to be watching momentum and pace and flow and how the play is in relationship to the audience. And I'm hoping there's moments where we are really connected with each of the 4 characters, and then also moments where we're like, what are you doing? You could have made a different choice, like that it feels dynamic. That relationship between audience and character feels really dynamic.
Thank you for sharing that. We're going to turn it over now to questions from you all. Thank you for sharing such rich fodder and inspiration. And I'm going to turn over my mic here. Isabel's going to come run it, but I just saw her hand right here, so I'm going to go ahead and send it out here, and then Isabel will take over.
We're all looking forward to seeing the play. 2 questions. In terms of the language, so we all understand the language of new play workshop, new play lab, staged reading. It sounds from what you're saying like this, in the life of the play, is closer to the beginning stages where we would normally see it as a new play workshop. But in terms of what I'm going to see when I get there, it's closer to a staged reading. Is that kind of right?
Well, so they're going to be up and moving, and in a lot of ways, the hope is that it's going to feel almost like a full production. But you're going to see them walking around carrying scripts, and so it gives us permission to, instead of asking actors to be able to spend their time memorizing, everything gets to be a little bit more dynamic. So even in the staging, the way that it's been staged and the tech, there's sort of flexibility in the scenes to allow for changes. So Sarah, after seeing the play on Friday night, can go away because we've got rehearsal Saturday morning and make changes. So they're in costume, they're moving around the stage, and they're going to be carrying sheets of paper. But to show even how hard our cast has been working, they're off book for chunks of the play, which has been astonishing, and not so we were so impressed. We were not expecting them to do that. So it's in this kind of it's not at music stands, it's not a full production. We've been operating using this idea of gestures, design gestures, staging gestures, acting gestures, because the focus needed to be in the script's life cycle on allowing the script to continue to evolve.
So that leads exactly to the second question I wanted to ask, which is, in a staged reading, as we just saw at Ahoy Hoy, we've seen many times, as much as everybody's acting their hearts out, it's still about the words. And it's easier to focus on the words because that's really what you have there. Is this different for you this early in the stage to not have just the words there alone? In what ways is it better or is it different, as we say, comparing the tracks?
Yeah. Oh, what a great question. I mean, plays are so much more than dialogue. Plays are also about the physical moments in between. Plays are about how we leave one space and go to another. I think that's all storytelling that a playwright needs to think about in one way or another. Particularly where Liz and I are from in Austin, you often don't have, a fly system that can drop in a new backdrop or, a big piece of scenery that can come in to create a new set. So you're thinking about, how do I do it with the actors' bodies, a few simple props, how do I do it with words and poetics? So I tend to write a lot of transitional moments because I want to claim that storytelling space. So with them being on their feet, with us thinking about costume changes, it lets us think about the logic of the world and how the world expands or goes to these separate moments. And so I'm catching stuff, logic-wise, that I wouldn't if we were just at music stands.
So if you were talking to someone who's interested in writing plays, how do you balance creating a compelling story for the audience versus the reality of the fact that this actually took place?
Yeah, so I think this is why I didn't want to write the play, because I was just like, please don't do this if you come. Please don't be like, that's wrong.
But to defend Sarah in this moment, at the end of her play, she has a bibliography of more than a dozen sources. So she absolutely cites her work.
Well, I'm not citing it. There's a moment very early where one of the characters says, this is a work of fact and fiction. So we are meant to understand this is a presentation and some things are being lifted up and other things, and this is part of the telling, are cut, but should they be in? So that's I wanted to make visible the choices a creator has when creating a story or an exhibit or something like that, because my first draft felt very beholden to accuracy. And I was like, that is not as engaging as the story underneath. So I'm gonna shift some things to try to help this be legible. And then there's some very good books written about this rivalry. So I have many books to recommend if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty.
I just wanted to jump in because of our 8 plays this season, if you count the Goldsmith, which was a private reading that we opened the Road Green Theater Center with, 5 of them are based on true stories. 2 of them are a biographical, How I Learned What I Learned, Being Less. But Best for Baby, Ahoy Hoy, and Bone Wars are all based on historical and somewhat current stories. So I wonder if that's a conversation you want to have later in the season about how, because they're all very different in form and how we're telling the truth and our history. But we should have that conversation at one of these later in the season.
So I have an invitation for you, Jade. Please tell everybody about this amazing new space that this play is being performed in. Our first ever play in this new space.
Yeah, it's very intentional. Thank you for that question. It's very intentional to open our beautiful new Road Green Theater Center and our wonderful black box named after as a gift named after our former president, with the next generation of theater makers. It is a beautiful black box, and it was created, designed, Emily and I were, and Laura Savia, and John Shedd, and so many other people. But Emily and I at CTC have been involved in this project since day one. So to design something meant to be a lab, meant to be a laboratory for new plays, and the people sitting right in front of you in our conservatory is outstanding. And wait till you see the space. Everything, we've got a new bar, so you can get a cocktail. You can even not come up. There's a window, so you can walk outside and get a bar while the show's going. We have happy hours every Monday night where you can just mingle with friends at Chautauqua Theater. 5 to 7. We're doing tours of the new building every Tuesday at 10. But most importantly, you know, it's brick and mortar. It's going to serve generations of theater makers, which I couldn't be more excited about. But I wanted to be, especially in this time of stress in American theater, of financial awareness here, I was like, okay, we get a new building. And buildings are great and important, and we need them, and it's wonderful to be under one roof, but it's really about the people that we're serving in it. So I really wanted it to be about the young people and our conservatory and the next generation, and a place, you know, to start saying anything is possible and moving in space.
It's my understanding, I'm over here. It's my understanding that there's been a musical version of this story about the two paleontologists and a film. I haven't seen any of them. Were you aware of that when you first got inspired? And when you did become aware of that, did you look at them or purposely avoid them? I'm thinking of Laurie Metcalf, purposely never saying Death of a Salesman because she knew she'd be Linda sometime and she wanted Linda to be around.
Yeah, so I don't think the film got made. I think they were going to make a film with Stephen Colbert and James Gandolfini, and it didn't get made. There's a great PBS special on it. The musical, which is in New York right now, I absolutely did not know about, and someone told me about it during like a work conference, and my heart just fell through the floor. Because I mean, I had been like, this is such great material, like why isn't there more about it? And then later at the same day, I was like, you know what's really on theme? Is having two plays about this competition presented in totally different styles. So, I mean, let's have a third, let's have 4 Bone Wars. Like, I think my storytelling voice is pretty distinctive. I think the way we're telling this story is the only way I could tell this story. So I think artists should make work and celebrate it. It does seem, I've just seen pictures on Instagram, it looks very different. But yeah, I think, and once you see the play, you'll know where this attitude is coming from. But I think there's room for lots of Bone Wars.
I'm going to try my question without amplification because this is a theater audience, right? It can be understood by the beautiful blue top. Thank you. I was going to ask about the Rotary Theater. I love your answer about that, but thank you. My question about paleontology. Were you inspired at all by the insights of Teilhard de Chardin and his idea that evolution is not a theory, it is everything?
No, that's not on my reading list. But I mean, I do. I love reading about evolution and seeing different, especially visual art. There's a really beautiful book in the Chautauqua Library here about like after man, that's sort of thinking about how animals might, like 50 million years in the future. So yeah, there were like the books I read specifically about this time, and then just some other books about time, geology, changes, but no, I need to check out that work.
Thank you.
I can't help but notice that there is a similar theme from the play we saw last week and this, and it has to do with pushing forward new information about science through competition rather than working cooperatively. And I'm just wondering if you came away thinking this is a lousy way to do science, or that this actually moves the needle for the benefit of all of us.
Yeah, that's the sort of question I started the play with. I love seeing Ahoy Hoy. I was like, this is Friend of Bone Wars. Like, it's stylistically different, but like great cousins, like very fun. So before I wrote Bone Wars, I was like, we were also learning a lot about the Apollo missions in my house and about like what it took to go to the moon. And I was just like, oh, we wouldn't have gone to the moon if it wasn't to beat Russia. Like, I think the idea of going to the moon to me is like the most poetic idea I've ever heard. It's just impossible. And that they did it. And it was so hard, and it took so many people, and it was so complicated, but they did it. It baffles my mind, and I think competition got us to the moon. And it's so destructive. It's so destructive to act, as my dear Cope and Marsh do, as if we're gonna run out of bones, as if we're gonna run out of things to discover. Because it's about time, right? It's thinking, all the time that exists is my time. When I die, it's the end of time, so I have to do everything while I'm alive. And I don't think it works like that. Maybe it's because I'm a parent. Like, I think we gotta think of some different time scales. So for me, there's a way of looking at it, and I think you'll see it in the play, that how this question lives in each of the 4 characters. How does competition help me do my best? And where does it trap me in this sense of scarcity, in this sense of if I don't do it now, it's never gonna happen.
I don't think it's an accident that there's 2 plays this summer that deal with competition in science either, especially considering the competition that's been driving our current scientific developments in technology. Like, in the room, we've been talking a lot about the culture of competition that exists in the tech world, and specifically around AI. And some big personalities, because even in their time, they were big personalities. Like, we could kind of draw a pretty clear analogy to the sort of the tech bros that are running all of those major companies today. And people have lots of feelings about that, right? People have strong feelings on whether you like Elon Musk. How do you feel about Sam Altman? What do you think is happening between the different companies, right? Is Zuckerberg, what he's doing over there with AI, different at Meta versus OpenAI? These are tough questions. And trust, absolutely. And then, because Sarah has also written into the play that the audience is a character in the play. Like, you will have actors talking to you directly. Like,
You don't have to do anything.
you don't have to do anything. But
In this one, you do Investor Baby and you did No Hoi Hoi.
That's true. But I think that there's something, right, that like we're all trying to kind of figure out, how do we feel about this, right? Is it worth it? And it's something that I don't think right now, like at this time in this country, we have figured out whether we think that competition of seeing, is it going to be Claude, is it going to be ChatGPT that wins the AI wars? Who knows? It's too soon to tell.
I also, in planning this season, I always want the plays to be in conversation with each other, and hopefully in conversation with where we are, and what Chautauqua was talking about, what the country's talking about. This is America's 250th. So I think they all look at different, like, Vesper Baby puts it right out there, American Dream. But I think we're all looking at what it is, what is that dream? What is it to be American? What is competition? What is success? What is legacy? These are all things that I, at every point of being an American, have been in the conversation of what is that to our identity. So I also am a firm believer in theater, and as a human, the best way to move forward is by being aware, or by, you've got to look back to see what happened, and then you can kind of move forward in a more informed way. I think this play does that in a really smart, human way.
I think our last question. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry. This is for Jade. This model of getting a playwright and a director to apply together, that already have a working relationship, they have the opportunity to work the play even before it gets here. Is the other model that you choose a play and you choose a directing fellow and they just get thrown together at Chautauqua for the first time?
No, so generally, we've never done this before. So this is a model I just created out of a need I have seen as a freelance director, of wanting to, Gabriel and I were talking about, like, how do we by doing, how do we say to everyone that these relationships are really important to support? Well, we do it by supporting them. And you already do that, you know, when Sharon and I were talking about who the right, Sharon Rothstein, who's our commission writer, who the right directors were for Best for Baby, we kind of go, oh, she just did this play in DC with Oliver, and they had a really good relationship. So we do that for the main stages. And in the past, the directing fellows have always, even when I was here for Tempest, they do like maybe a one night. I remember Heidi did something that was completely in the dark. She only had like a day, so it was like, you know, ghost stories. But they do something that's already been published, often in public domain, so we don't have to absorb the cost of the rights. So that's what you saw last year. You saw some Pinter, you've seen the directing fellows do work that's already been established. So it's a different conversation the director is having. They're reimagining something that's already been like, this is how you do it. Right now they're creating worlds together. So it's something that we just made up.
But it's everything. I mean, I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of different playwrights. Sometimes I get to walk in with the playwright, they bring me along because we have that relationship, and sometimes I'm just assigned to a new playwright, and I think to work on something. And not that those relationships aren't great, but I think because of the shape of what this lab is, being in collaboration with Sarah on this script already and our years of working together, it has given us a shorthand so that then we can work on supporting the bigger room, because we can look at each other, we know what the other person is thinking, and that allows for us to then take bigger steps with the play, because we know how we can work together, and then it's about, well, how does this serve the bigger play as opposed to trying to negotiate, hey, how do you like to work? Because we're already dealing with process in so many ways. And just to make sure that this is abundantly clear, like, this doesn't happen elsewhere.
We created this system.
Yeah. There have been like plenty of other places do new play development, but nothing at this scale, and this is such an incredible opportunity. Like, it's huge.
And I want to call out CTC because something that I haven't shared with a lot of people is the way that Drama League used to work as our directors. If you remember Kavan or Brittany or any of the directors in the past 2 years, we partnered with a children's theater. And in the fall, after they left Chautauqua, they would go and do a Theater Works production that somebody else had already directed, but they got a chance to remount it. Well, Theater Works is one of those theaters that is not doing so well. They have split ways with Drama League and are no longer offering that. And Chautauqua Theater Company was able to step up and deepen our relationship, deepen the resources we're getting from Drama League, but also deepen what Chautauqua is offering these directing fellows. So now we are providing that piece of actual directing practicum that they used to leave here and go do for Theater Works. So that was something that we also just, in reshaping what the program was and how stressed the industry was, Chautauqua is stepping up in another way, and in partnership, so we're not absorbing all the costs. So I should share that for you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please come and see the Bone Wars this weekend. We have performances Friday at 6, Saturday at 2 and 6. Sundays 2 and 6. Oh, I thought I could do this without my notes. Okay. Saturday at 6, Sunday at 2 and 6. Sunday is actually getting quite full, so I really recommend if there's a particular day, a particular show you want to come see, I know you're so busy in your time here, book those tickets, and we'll see you at the Road Green Theater Center this weekend. Thank you so much for your time today.